everyone. We will start off with a small prayer. Gajananam Bhuta Ganadisevitam Kapita Jambhu Bhala Sarabhakshitam Umasutam Shoka Vinashakaranam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam. Thank you everyone for coming to our talk today. My name is Anjana and I am one of the core members of the youth group Yuvathma from the Guruvayurappan Temple of Brampton, and I will be one of your hosts for this morning. Today we are proud to present our second Yuva Chat, the Spiritual Talks for the Young Mind event. For those who are not yet aware, Yuvathma is the youth wing of the Guruvayurappan Temple of Brampton and is led by Hindu youth within the Greater Toronto community. In addition to planning fun and engaging activities for young members of our community, Yuvathma is also committed to presenting eminent speakers influential and to the community and collectively raising our knowledge about different topics. After being founded last year, we have planned several activities such as game nights, career panels, and facilitated some talks such as the one today. So to stay in touch with us, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Our handle is yuvathma.gtob, and our details are also listed on the Guruvayurappan Temple of Brampton's website. We would very much like to continue this series of Yuva Chats in the future, so please stay tuned for more upcoming talks over the next few months. Before we get started today, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping rules to make sure today is organized. Please keep your mics muted and your video off throughout the lecture to keep distractions and disruptions to a minimum. If you do have any questions for our speaker today, please send them through the chat box function in Zoom, which will be located on the bottom panel. And for we will also have a question and answer period at the end for any questions that may arise during the talk, and we will direct them to our speaker at the end. So now I will hand it over to my co-host Sanjay, who will be introducing our guest speaker for today, Dr. R. Narayanaswami.
Thanks, Chechi. Hi, everyone. My name is Sanjay, and I am a representative for Yuvathma and will be your other facilitator for this event. Thank you, Dr. Narayanaswami, for being here today. To give everyone some more insight about our wonderful speaker, Dr. Narayanaswami was a postdoctoral research scientist at NASA Langley in Hampton, Virginia in the early 1970s, and was the founder chairman of a couple of successful IP and service-based engineering companies. He is a Veda practitioner since his Diksha when he was 11 years old. He has taught Veda chanting and Vedanta to his friends and is doing research on the Vedas under Professor Kashyap. This book is the outgrowth of his lifelong Veda practice, teaching, and research. Dr. Narayanaswami was born and brought up in Tirupundithura, Kerala State, India. After his BSc degree from the College of Engineering, Trivandrum, and MTech from the Indian Institute of Technology in Chennai, and PhD from the Texas Tech University, Texas, he was selected for the prestigious National Science Foundation National Research Council Fellowship to conduct postdoctoral research at the NASA Langley Research Center for 2 years. He spent a further 3-year period as a research scientist at NASA. Right now, he is fully retired from professional work and presently lives in Westlake Village, California. His interest on the Vedas grew since his Upanayanam ceremonies when he was 11 years old and has been a Veda practitioner since. He has served in different capacities in the education and dissemination of the Vedas in the Southern California area during the past 40+ years. His interests include reading, listening to music, writing travel logs, lecturing on Vedic and philosophical texts, and watching sports games of the NFL and NBA. Now let me introduce a bit about the book itself. This book is written in 2 parts. Part 1 of the book provides an overview of the Vedas, including the definitions of the various terms used in the Vedas, and discusses in 6 chapters the current understanding of the Vedas. Part 2, in 5 chapters, explains the spirituality and wisdom in the Vedas propounded by Sri Aurobindo in the early 20th century and popularized by Professor R.L. Kashyap by translating all the Veda Mantras by the early 21st century. It is our hope that all Sanatana Dharma followers and all those who want to understand the Vedas will benefit by reading this book. Now, my personal opinion about the book, from what I have read, and as someone who is only beginning to learn about the Vedas, I thought this was a great place to start. So far, I have very much enjoyed how the Vedas are made relevant and how we can all connect to it today, even though it was derived from the Rishis' way of life. But I hope to hear more about it from our esteemed guest today, and I will now pass the mic to Dr. Narayanaswami.
Okay, can I start now?
Yeah, you
Yes,
can
sir,
start
please.
whenever.
Okay, so I will also start with an invocation prayers. So after that, I will start the formal lecture. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Ganana Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavin Kavinam Upamasravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspada Srinvanyutibhisida Sadhanam Om Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Vajevir Vajini Vadi Dhinama Vitriyavadu Om Sri Mahasaraswatye Namaha Triambagam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvaryugamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamrtaad Om Triambagamurtinjay Devadaye Namo Namaha Idam Vishnur Vijakrame Treda Nidate Padam Samodamasya Pagam Surem Krishna 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 Om Bhurbhuvassuvarom Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I'm very happy to be here, to be addressing the Yuvathma organized lecture. Of course, several points make this a very special session for me. The very name Guruvayurappan Temple invokes memories. Having lived in Kerala, gone to Guruvayurappan Temple many times. Hope all of you over there have been told the Aidhihyam of the Guruvayurappan Temple, built by Guru and Vayu. That is why it is called Guruvayur. And the idol at Guruvayurappan Temple, Appan means the Lord. So the Lord of the town called Guruvayur is Guruvayurappan. And of course, this was the same idol that was worshipped by Lord Krishna himself. And of course, his parents in his 3 births and all that, all the background stories I skip. So Guruvayurappan Temple is a place of great, the very mention invokes Lord in his full splendor. And of course, hailing from Tripunithara, the main deity, both the Vishnu temple and Shiva temple are there. Purnatraishan also has similar connection with Mahavishnu's connections. So Guruvayurappan we also have worshipped at the Purnatraishan temple. So with this introduction, let me start today's presentation, Understanding the Vedas. And of course, there was, I will take 1 or 2 questions that I had asked, what prompted my interest into these Vedas. As I said, we had in the family a Shiva Puja, and I became a practitioner from the age of 11 after my Upanayam. Then I had always this question, because the conventional projection of Vedas, while we all know Vedas are the pramanas of Sanatana Dharma, Pramana means the authority. Yet, most Sanatana Dharma followers have not had any formal education. And the general messaging on the Vedas is that it consists of mantras and it is used for rituals. Both are true, but at the same time, it is used rituals for pujas and yajnas and all that. That part is still correct, but additional messaging on the Vedas, like some of the English translations of the 19th century by Max Muller, Wilson and Griffith and all that, stated that Vedas make no sense at all, and it does not contain wisdom. So the general feeling has come that Veda is for to do yajna and puja and maybe material prosperity. By worshipping the devas, you get some material prosperity and perhaps a place in the heaven. But once your punyam is over, then you have to come down here, and the jnanam is in the moksha part or the Vedanta. So because of that, most people have ignored the study. And of course, there are also some restrictions imposed that everyone must not chant Veda and all that. So for whatever reasons, the Veda has not been as well understood by many people. So I was always curious, while I knew all the Veda mantras necessary to conduct the pujas, and I was involved with teaching Veda mantras, the commonly used Veda mantras, Purusha Suktam, Rudram Chamagam, and Devi Mahatmyam, Saptasadi, all those aspects. So the question always remained in my mind, where is the wisdom in the Vedas? Because Vedas are known as the original books of wisdom the world has seen. It is dated antiquity. The current information is, of course, our belief is it existed always. At the same time, it is pre-Harappan. Harappan civilization started about 7,000 years ago. Recent archaeological discoveries in India has established that. So from that time onwards, long before any other religious book came, Vedas are known as the books of wisdom. And yet, by chanting the mantras and all those things, I was not able to see the wisdom. So I wanted to understand where the wisdom is, and I was in a deep search. And I had a by chance meeting with Professor Kashyap. And from there, I understood this Aurobindo's spiritual and psychological meanings, because the Veda mantras have multiple meanings, and that has been stated by Madhvacharya. And he said Veda mantras have the external meanings of the Sanskrit words, then the Adi-Devic meanings you can explain as part of the devas of the Vedas, or you can also understand the spiritual or adhyatmic meaning, the inner meaning. And so far, the work done by Sayana Acharya in the 14th century, which gave the meanings of the Veda mantras, all the Veda mantras, but he used the external or direct meanings of the mantras. And if you look only at the external meanings, in some areas, things are not clear. You need to learn the spiritual and the adhyatmic meanings. So because of that, the English translators did not fully understand the essence, because they had only access to the Sainacharya's external meanings. So they concluded that Vedas do not have wisdom. And that message stayed because many of us do not have strong Sanskrit background. So we are not able to understand the even the meanings provided by for the Veda Mantras by Sainacharya and other scholars in India also are in Sanskrit. So unless you have a good understanding of Sanskrit language, you are not able to understand the Veda Mantras by reading by yourself. So we all rely on the English translation, and the English translation by Max Muller, Wilson and Griffith concluded, because they had access only to the external meanings of the mantras, they never understood the spiritual or adhyatmic meanings, so they concluded they have not much value, not much wisdom. So because of that, most people have abandoned the study, and we don't have any source also. So so in search of the full spiritual meanings, I was connected with Professor Kashyap. It was an accidental meeting. Someone arranged a meeting for me to meet with Kashyap, and then I discussed with him, and then I was able to quickly understand the spiritual meanings. And since then, I am doing the research on the Vedas, so I understand a lot more. Along with my practice and the questioning that I had all along, most of the questions within my own mind have been answered. So I am able to now provide a brief idea of what are in the Vedas. Now, the Reshape period from about 6000 BCE to 4000 BCE, and then they were teaching the inner meanings and how to become a rishi. No one becomes a rishi by birth. You have to meditate, and in your superconscious state, if you hear a mantra revealed, Shruti mantras are obtained for that person, then he is called a rishi. And they were, the rishis were teaching their disciples and showing them how to meditate and recover mantras from the Parame Vyoman. And after a period of time, the developments started. So they wanted people to work on the town planning, farming, trading, all those aspects. So people were involved in other activities and did not have time to fully devote to meditation. And the Rishi period ended, and the Vedic period ended around 4000 BC or 3500 BCE. And Veda Vyasa classified around 3000 BCE. The Mahabharata war happened in 3067. Our best understanding of the date of Mahabharata war is 3067. And around that time, Vyasa, 3100 BCE, the Veda Mantras that existed at that time, he classified into 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda. And there are 3 types of mantras. One is called Rig. Rig means they are poetic verses, 2-line verses. And all the mantras in the Rig Veda are in Rigs. Yajur Veda has prose mantras also. Yajur Veda contains prose and Rigs. And Sama Veda is sung in a particular fashion called a Saman. So Rig, Yajus, and Saman are the 3 types of mantras. But he classified the books into 4 Samhitas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda. In the post-Vedic period, then people also wanted to understand the full meanings of the Vedas. So the scholars at those times developed Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. Then Vedangas, Upangas, all were developed. Then Shaddarshana, Nyaya, Vaiyeshika Nyaya, Sankhya, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa, and Uttar Mimamsa are Upanishads. So all these developments came, and around the 14th century, Sainacharya translated all the Veda Mantras again in Sanskrit. But he provided only the direct or external meanings. And based on that, the 19th century English translations stated that Vedas don't have much wisdom. So people decided that Vedanta is where they said that Veda Samhita is for karma, to do the yajnas and all that. Vedanta is for jnana. So most people went to study jnana. And those who are chanters are there, and the jnana marga and the Upanishad study. So I had I studied Vedanta, I taught Vedanta, the Dashopanishad, Isha, Vasya, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Taittiriya, Mandukya, Mundaga, then Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka, the 10 Upanishads. In spite of all that, I was still searching where is the wisdom. And finally, only by Sri Aurobindo's and Kapali Shastri's and Professor Kashyap's book, we was able to understand the wisdom. So now I will straight away briefly say, so what is the wisdom and where is the wisdom? We, all of us, have taken birth to do karma. Whether we do professional karma, we can be an engineer, we can be a doctor, we can be a lawyer, or you can be a CPA, accounts, or you can be a householder. Whatever interests you, you can be a painter, you can be a sculptor. It does not matter. Whatever interest you have, Veda wants you to continue and excel in that one. So our rishis found out the ways how we can perform our tasks with all-round perfection. Any task that you attempt, we must be able to perform with all-round perfection. So rishis found out that by Veda, by teaching by understanding the Vedas and learning Vedas, you can do all the tasks with all-round perfection. At the same time, by divinizing yourself, I will explain all these terms as we go along. By divinizing, spiritualizing yourself, we can rise in consciousness levels and eventually attain immortality. So I will try to put this all together in a word, because the question is, why should I learn Vedas? What is in it for me? ROI. What is the return on investment? If I spend studying Vedas is not easy. You have to find a Veda teacher to teach you, and you have to devote the time to learn the Veda Mantras, and then takes time to practice. Just like anything else, whether you want to learn music or whether you want to learn a particular field of study, Veda study also requires time. So what is it in it for me? We will not ask that question. Leaving aside the fact that that is the pramanas of Sanatana Dharma, and Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, what says? Deva, Asura, Sambad, Vibhaga Yoga. Krishna explains to Arjuna, what are there are only two types of people. People with Daivik qualities, Devi Sambat, or Asuri Sambat. Either you are a Devi qualities or the Asuri Sambat. And at the end of the chapter, he says, follow what is stated in the Vedas. Only by acting according to the ordinances in the Vedas, you will achieve success. That is what the 23rd and 24th slokas of 16th chapter Krishna tells Arjuna. So all our rishis have said Devas. So the basic goal of life, all human beings have taken birth to do karma. But what we simplify is that we say that by karma, I mean only my professional karma. Get up in the morning, I go to work to make a living. I study. After study, then I get a job. Then I marry and settle down, raise a family. I go to work to run the family. But that is, Veda does not distinguish between professional work, material life, and spiritual life. It is all together because there is a spirit that pervades the whole universe. So Veda says there is a rishis looked at the manifestation and concluded that the whole manifestation works with a clockwork precision. So there has got to be a conscious person guiding this, and they called that person as Tadegam, that one, which became the Upanishads of the later Vedantic text, Brahman, this Tadegam. And he's assisted with Devas by name Agni, Indra, and Mitra, Varuna, Soma, Surya, Saraswati, goddesses, Devas and Devis are assisting Tadegam to run this manifestation with a clockwork precision. And rishis found that this whole manifestation can be organized into 7 Dhammas or 7 lokas. And the support for that statement comes from Prithivya Saptadhamavihi. Prithivya Saptadhamavihi. The whole manifestation is divided into 7 Dhamma. 7 lokas with, they are not physical lokas, but with consciousness, starting from Yat, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. And these are the names for the 7 lokas. And all of us human beings are in the lowest station, earth station, station number 1. Whereas the Tadegam and the Devas and the Veda Mantras are all in the Parame Vyoman, the 7th, Satyaloka. So what rishis are saying is, by divinizing and inviting the Devas, we are able to perform all our tasks with higher levels of perfection, all-round perfection. We can reach all-round perfection in all our tasks, and we can rise in consciousness levels from the earth level and go to Parame Vyoman eventually. Whether it happens in one birth or in many births, we will attain there. So this is the overview, what the rishis said, which Sri Aurobindo explained in his by saying spiritual and psychological meanings of the Veda Mantras. And the rishis teachings become a lot more clearer to us. And of course, T.V. Kapali Shastri, a Vedic scholar, wrote supporting works of Sri Aurobindo in Sanskrit, because most of our Vedic scholars and priests know only Sanskrit. So Aurobindo's English publications were not able to be understood by them. Kapali Shastri is a Vedic scholar, knowledgeable in English and Sanskrit, translated Aurobindo's works into Sanskrit, so the Vedic scholars understood what Aurobindo is trying to say. And Professor Kashyap, based on Aurobindo's guidelines, and Aurobindo himself translated about 3,000 mantras by the spiritual meanings and set guidelines how to translate the remaining mantras. And Professor Kashyap studiously has followed those, and he has translated all the mantras in all the 5 Vedas in 26 volumes. There are about 27,000 mantras in all the Vedas together. And he has done a phenomenal work by making available all the Veda Mantras to us. It is available in one source. By buying his complete publications, you have all the Veda Mantras in Devanagari script with English meanings, so we can fully understand what is in Veda and the wisdom in the Vedas. So what is the spirituality and wisdom? How can we benefit by that? What the rishis are saying is, we are living in earth. Earth is truth mixed with falsehood. Just like there are, Tadegam is supported by Devas, Agni, Indra, Vayu, Soma, Surya, number of Devas support him. Each Deva has a psychological power. And along with Devas, there are Dasyus by name Vritra, Pani, Valas. So these Dasyus prevent the positive energies that the Tadegam and the Devas want to send to us. Those energies are blocked by Dasyus. Now, who are these Dasyus? Dasyus are nothing but our own Shadribhus, the 6 enemies that each human being has, which are called Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Kamam, desire; Krodham, anger; Lobham, greed; Moham, delusion; Madam, pride; Matsaryam, jealousy. So these characteristics that we have, these are powers of darkness. And it is the darkness that prevent the energy and truth coming us. So Rishi said, we have to invite the Devas. And how to invite the Devas? By chanting the Veda Mantras. Each Deva has a psychological power. Agni. Agni is considered to be the psychological power of divine willpower. As we all know, none of us will be able to accomplish a task correctly unless we have strong willpower. Willpower is needed by every human being to perform any task to completion, to have the, because for example, we start any project. Hey, I want to learn music. We go to music, and the initial 3 or 4 classes, we are very joyfully attending the classes. Then the homeworks increase, the time that you need to spend to practice increase, and you're unable to do that. And for one reason or other, you drop out of that. Why do you drop out? Because you lack the willpower. As they say, we have to have disciplined and leaders. So to obtain willpower, you need Agni. So we need to chant Agni mantras. We can invite. And all these Devas and Indra of the Rigveda is very different from the Indra of the Puranas that we have seen, where Indra wants to stay in power all the time. So he does take steps to prevent others coming and all that. So yeah, Indra is not such a person in the Rigveda. Indra is a divine mind. He is Lord of the divine mind. And all the rishis have obtained mantras for Agni and Indra. These are the two most important devas in Rigveda. Then, of course, Surya. The Gayatri mantra is for Surya. Surya is the total light. So by bringing Surya to yourself, inviting Surya, that is the power of the Gayatri mantra. By inviting Surya, we will become more and more truthful. And Rishi said that we live in truth with falsehood and subject to death. To move past this death, we have to go with powers of light. Devas are powers of light. Dasyus are powers of darkness. And another point Rishis emphasized was that the Dasyus are very strong and powerful. Our Shadribus, our Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya are very strong. So if we try to overcome them by ourselves, our own efforts may not be adequate. You see, all of us will say, all of us know that getting angry is not a good characteristic. So we'll decide, hey, I don't want to get angry. We won't be angry when things go our way. The moment, the first time something does not go the way we think or we anticipate or we want, then we suddenly snap, we get angry. And however much we try, we will not be able to overcome that anger. Rishis say that is because they are dasyus. They don't want you to get out of the anger. They want to keep you under their control. These Shadribus stay with you. So the only way the dasyus can be removed from ourselves is by inviting the devas, by inviting the darkness. All these are supposed to be negative and darkness. You have to invite the powers of light. Surya is the typical example. That is why the Gayatri Mantra has such an importance. Agni is the deva for divine willpower. Indra, deva for divine mind. Saraswati for inspiration and intelligence. Mitra and Varuna, Mitra for friendship. Varuna for vastness. So because of our, we have these devas and they are ready. If we invite the devas, they will come and plant an emanation in the person who I requested their help. And by chanting the Veda Mantras, that emanation will grow. And when the emanation grows and becomes a full-fledged tree, then it becomes, all the Daivic powers are there. Your task will get completed with a better perfection, and you rise in consciousness levels, and eventually you can reach to the pure consciousness of truth consciousness. That is the message, and that is the wisdom. So the spirituality and wisdom that I was searching for is available, has been understood. And this is what the Rishis were teaching their initiate disciples in the Vedic period, 6000 BC to 4000 BCE. But then towards the end, when the Rishis found that there are not enough people who are willing to devote their life to meditate and to become a Rishi, they decided that unless they introduce outer yajna, the Vedic practice will stop. So the Rishis introduced outer yajna for all those commoners who are busy working in the fields, working in the towns, working in the trading and the farming and all those things. They introduced this outer yajna. But since the Rishis themselves were the conductors of the outer yajna, and Rishis were also teaching the spirituality and wisdom and the inner meanings to some of their skilled devotees, they could also provide that answer to among the commoners who wanted that information. So there was balance. But at the end of the Rishi period, the spiritual and wisdom ideas that the Rishis possessed disappeared with the Rishis. Only outer yajna remained. And also Sainacharya's external meaning translation did not help to provide the spiritual meanings within the Veda. And we lost from about 4000, 3000 BCE until the 20th century, when Aurobindo, Kapali Shastri, and Kashyap. I said, so that was the reason for me to write the book. There was a question, what prompted me to write the book, and what did I learn from that book, and what are the things. So what I want to mention to all of you is, all people, there is no restriction that only if you want to be in the priestly profession, then you have to learn the mantras with the correct intonation and the correct chanting, and you need to know how to conduct a yajna, because the Purva Mimamsa of Gemini says that the correct conduct of the yajna and the correct chanting of the mantras is required for the phala from the yajna to be provided to the yajamana. So you need the properly trained priest to be able to conduct the yajna for you. But if you want to invite Agni or Indra or Surya or Saraswati, each of whom has powers. Do I have, how much more time I have? Anjana, do I have another?
Yeah, you have about 7 more minutes, maybe a little more if you need it. Yeah.
So let me see whether I can share this quickly. I want to see. Can you see this slide?
No, not.
Share. Okay, let me see. No, let me see. Okay, can you see now?
Yes, it's working.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, okay. So this is. Okay, yeah. So this is the Agni, the cosmic energy Deva. The physical association is fire. The psychological power is divine willpower. And in words, aspiration, willpower, strength, happiness, calmness, all these. So almost everyone, that is why all the rishis have invited Agni. And Indra, the physical association, is an energy body. Of course, Indra is also known as a rainmaker from the Puranas and all that. But the psychological power associated with Indra is divine mind and intelligence and clarity of thinking, correct actions, all that happen in there. So there are 2,000 mantras out of 10,552 mantras for Agni, 2,500 mantras for Indra. Almost there are 400 rishis in Rig Veda, and about 30 of the rishis are lady rishis. So there is no bar for ladies. Ladies have become rishis and gotten mantras revealed to them. So there is no harm for anyone to chant a mantra for Agni or Indra. And there was one of the questions that was asked to me, what in the book that everyone can use for every day? I have given the first sukta, the 9 mantras in chapter 10, at the end of the chapter 10. So chanting that mantras every day. Of course, the whole chapter 7, I want all of you to see, to understand the spirituality and wisdom in the Vedas and how we can follow all this. So I will skip the remaining devas. The next one is Soma and Surya, the delight of work. Surya is the spiritual consciousness, knowledge and power. Mitra, love and harmony. Varuna, then Saraswati, all-sided learning, divine inspiration, inspiration and speech, correct actions achiever, and so on. So Vayu, breathing regularity, mental energies. Ashwin is our divine physicians. Ashwins provide bliss. So there are mantras for each of these devas. And you can chant the mantra that you need, that you want, and develop these powers. That is the reason for all of us to do. And we can divinize. And there are the 7 lokas, the Prithivya Sapta Dhammabihi. The universe divided into 7 dhammas, or non-physical worlds. And I will quickly show them. Yeah. The lowest matter is called Bhuloka, gross matter or Annamaya Kosha. Then the next one is life, emotions and all that, Antariksha, Prana or Bhuvarloka, vital energy. The next one, the third Dhamma is mind, Dew or Suvarloka, Manas, Manomaya Kosha. The fourth Dhamma is the truth of harmonious manifestation. Aravinda calls it super mind or Vijnanamaya Kosha. Then you have the fifth one, Anandamaya Kosha, eternal bliss. Sixth one is Sat Chit or Tapoloka. And the last one, seventh, Sat or Satiloka. So these 7, not physical worlds, but imaginary worlds, each with a different consciousness level. And our goal is to rise in this by divinizing ourselves. So the whole message of Rishis is that all of us can continue doing whatever professions we do. At the same time, by chanting Veda and by leading a dharmic life, we have to get out of this falsehood. We have to get out of these negative energies. We have to get out of these shadripus. And by doing, by inviting the devas, chanting mantras, if you have only 5 minutes every day, that is fine. But you invite, during that 5 minutes, the particular deva, invite that deva, and that deva will come to you. It may not happen overnight. If you stand there tomorrow and they say, day after tomorrow, where is the deva come? It will take time. You have to set up your subtle body, because devas can place an emanation only on your subtle body, not in the Annamaya Kosha, because the Pancha Koshas, Annamayam, Pranamayam, Manomayam, Vijnanamayam, Anandamaya Kosha. So the devas will place a emanation in the subtle body, and then we will be able to grow that emanation that devas place, and it is called divinization. Divinization doesn't mean that you have to say 24/7 chant Veda Mantras. No, if you have 5 minutes, fine. If you have 10 minutes a day, fine. 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. And on holidays, you can spend 15 minutes or 30 minutes. Whatever time you have, and you continue whatever activities, you have a happy life. Lead a life of Satyam Tapas Shraddhayam. So we have to have, get away from this falsehood, get away from our negative characteristics, try to, and getting away from negative characteristics cannot happen by however much we want to try. It is not like, hey, I'm going to do this tomorrow morning. Whatever specific activity you want to do, you can do that. But a characteristic that you have accumulated or you are come up with it from birth, it is difficult to remove your anger. But by inviting these devas, they will fight with Dasyus, and there are so many battles, devas and Dasyus, not physical battles, but symbolic battles, which came as the Deva-Asura battles in the Indra killing Vritra in Bhagavata Purana is coming from this Rigveda and all that. So I will sort of come to the end of my talk by saying that Vedas are spiritual documents which are spirituality and wisdom. By following a dharmic life, Sanatana Dharma dharmic life, and leading following the guidance that we have received from our parents and from our worship patterns, and inviting the devas by chanting the mantras or whatever slokas that you know, inviting them, you are able to divinize yourself. Your task will get higher levels of perfection, and you will rise in consciousness levels. And whether in this birth itself or after many births, you can attain the Parame Vyoman, the seventh station, Satyaloka, and be with Tadegam and the Devas and the mantras. This, in a nutshell, is the message of the Vedas. And I will now take questions from the audience.
Everyone, as a reminder, please send the questions in the chat function of Zoom, and we will answer any questions that have not already been addressed. And thank you, Dr. Narayanaswami, for that wonderful presentation. It was very interesting. I enjoyed how you talked about willpower and how you needed to do several tasks, and without it, it'll be very hard to succeed.
Everyone gets a Dana Agni Mantra. That is if from this lecture you got, that is why we have emphasis on the our havans. That is why we want to do yajna. Every time you invite Agni, and that invitation happens to you as a participant in the yajna, whether you conduct the yajna or the yajna is conducted at the temple. By being over there and inviting Agni, you will get the, that is why the emphasis on Agni for the willpower and Indra for the divine mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, so we now have about 10 minutes for any questions. You can just put it in the chat. And I'll ask a question of my own to begin with. Dr. Narayanaswami, how did you properly balance your life between your job as a scientist and teaching the Vedas?
The teaching of the Vedas started only after my first company was sold. Even though I could have taught them, because the teaching is only every Sunday. So devoting 1 hour or 1.5 hours every Sunday, they all come. I used to, not Sunday, I used to 7 a.m. till 11, 12, 3 or 4 classes I used to conduct different levels people from 2000 onwards. But that was only after I sold my first company. And when I was doing the second company, by that time I am completely organized how to run the company and all that. So in the first company, which was a little bit more harder to run, so at that time I had not started this. But nonetheless, it is possible because you only teach Sunday. But a more important question is, rather than teaching the Veda, if I were to slightly modify the question, a more difficult task is when you are so busy to find the time to be chanting, doing the puja every day. I used to do puja every day before I go to work, and I used to go to work to my office by 7 because it was my own company, so I can go at any time. But nonetheless, I was at the office by 7 and many employees will be there by 7. So I used to get up at 4:30 every day and take shower and chant Veda Mantras for close to 1 hour, do my puja, then breakfast, then drive and get to my office by 7. So that was a harder thing rather than teaching Veda once every week, even though I did not do while I was running the first company. Then when I was doing the second company, then it was a little bit more easier time for me to, I was more acting as a CEO, whereas in the first company, I was also the technical specialist and the CEO. So I had a lot more responsibilities for the first company there. But I used to do my puja every day by getting up earlier than most. That's the way to handle that.
That's great. So it seems that you had everything balanced out pretty neatly, and you seem to know how to do everything very organized. So the next question is, what advice would you give to someone who is intimidated by the Vedas, and want to start to learn the shlokas. Somebody asked how to chant the Vedas, and perhaps you could give some insight to them.
Yes, the Veda Mantra chanting has come by the Guru Shishya Parampara. It has come from the Guru Shishya Parampara. Even now we say Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Bhadyandam Vande Guru Parampara. This is a slogan that starts to our devotion to all this. Sadashiva Samarambam. Sadashiva is the Adi Guru. Lord Shiva is the Adi Guru. Shankaracharya Madhyamam. Shankaracharya is a representative of Sadashiva. He set up the mats. Then Asmadacharya, whosoever is teaching you, is in this tradition. He has learned it from some Guru. And so this Guru Parampara. So I would encourage you, maybe talk to your temple priest. Everyone will have access. Early time, someone who knows the Veda, teaching that Veda is the right way to get started. This alone, you have to learn from the Guru Mukha. So when you chant back, the Guru will correct it if you are making a mistake. So that facility will be available. But if it is only just to have that, then you can chant the mantra by yourself also. But the power, how much, I don't know. But always it is better to get started. Once you start with a guru, then you can go on your own. A guru will be able to be found. In fact, our Shastras say that no student will go without a guru. If he is sincerely seeking a guru will come to him. He will always have access to a guru.
Yeah, that sounds like great advice. I feel like everyone could go to their priest and ask if they really need to. The next question is, what is a good book to understand the Vedas for teenagers?
Well, I thought my book in the first 1 or 2 chapters, it gives more historical and mentions about the text. So I thought that may be easy, but I now realize that we have to bring it still a lower level. So I think if someone else, based on my book, want to write a smaller text or 1 or 2 chapters, 2 or 3 chapters and all that, that's an effort has to be done. No effort has been made thus far because most Veda books start with the Veda Mantras directly. So that is why I wrote the first 2 or 3 chapters are easy reading, how the Vedas from 6000 BC came to what are the important publications and all that. But I realized that it has to be still made simpler for youngsters to understand. But I thought that book will be okay for college-going students or high school students, because many of high school students are now reading scientific fiction and all that. That are all a lot more harder than this book. So at least from high school level or entry college, people may be able to read my book and follow. But for still younger people, we have to develop still easier books from these. That maybe some other books will be there, but I think more Veda interested people will come, then more books will also come.
That's interesting. So the next question from someone is, are there any more classes conducted by yourself, Narayanaswami, where we can learn more about the Vedas?
I am now almost stopping the teaching because I'm now promoting these sessions to more and more people. So even though I'm giving 12 lectures on my book and some people are attending, whether I will have to continue this later, that I have not decided. But if there is interest and communications come to me, my time is available for dissemination of this Veda knowledge to others. So when there are 20, 30 people interested, I will again, we can arrange this Zoom ways of these lectures later on also.
So these talks are going to be constant then. So we'll just have one more question before we conclude. Do you know any forums or groups where we can discuss the Vedas?
That is an excellent question. That is something we have to start. And I shall help people who want to start, how to start and all. That is a major effort, because for Vedanta, there are a lot of places. Chinmaya Mission is teaching. There are others teaching. There are so many people, easy access to learn Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads, but no one is teaching Vedas. So we want to develop some entry. That is a very excellent question. I'll keep an eye on it. I'll connect with you if there is. And if you have ideas how to start and all that, I will certainly be part of such a team too, because our goal is to transfer. This is a very excellent knowledge that has come from 6,000 BC, means almost 8,000, 10,000 years ago. It has come. Ours, Sanatana Dharma, is the only civilization that has lasted. All other civilizations, Greek, Roman, Mayan civilization, everything has disappeared. Only Sanatana Dharma, because it is a dharmic. It is upholding one. So we need to continue to teach about that, and more people have to understand this. So that's a very excellent question. And let us all look at it.
I didn't really know that. That's interesting. And actually, one more came up, so we'll just answer that and then conclude. Do you think we have lost any Vedas or parts of them due to the destruction over centuries?
Yeah, we have lost a lot. In fact, they were saying there was hundreds or even thousands of shagas. We now have only about 3 or 4 shagas, maximum 12 or 13, combining all the Vedas together. But we had hundreds and hundreds of shagas, and we lost a lot of Veda Mantras. And so that is reason to preserve what we now have, to hand it over to posterity. So that's an excellent question. We have lost so much of the Veda Mantras, but what we have is a very good collection, and let us preserve this and hand it over to youngsters like you. So you will hand it over to the next generation. That is how we need to continue this transfer.
That's a perspective I haven't thought of before. So that is all the questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Narayanaswami, and I'll give it to Chechi, my other co-host, just to conclude.
Thank you sincerely, Dr. Narayanaswami, for your time and for lending us some of your expertise. We're truly blessed to be in discussion with you. I think somebody has actually gone ahead and shared your website about the book and yourself in the chat for those who are interested. You can read more about your work there. So once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining this call. And hopefully we were all able to impart some of your wisdom today, Dr. Narayanaswami. Thank you. As a reminder, to stay up to date on future Yuvathma events, please follow us on our social media pages. On Facebook, our page is Yuvathma GTOB, and on Instagram, our handle is yuvathma.gtob. We'll be posting a variety of events in the future, so please keep an eye on our social media pages to stay informed, as well as the temple website also has a link to fill out your email so that we can send you emails about future Yuvathma events as well. I hope everyone has an amazing weekend.
Before you close, sorry to interrupt. Before you close,
no, of course.
Let me say the closing prayers. I was waiting for all this thing. When you are just before all your announcements, then I will do the closing prayers.
Yes, of course. I think that's all the announcements. I just wanted to wish everyone well. So a closing prayer would be wonderful now. Thank you.
The closing prayer, I'll say the meaning also. The Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Asat means from falsehood. Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Please lead me from falsehood to truth. That is the first one. Asat versus Sat. Asato Ma Sadgamaya. The second one is Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. From darkness, lead me to light. Tamas means darkness. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityor Ma Amritangamaya. From death, lead me to immortality. Amrita means immortality. So these are the 3 lines that always we must chant. Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Then one more well-wisher for all together. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. Let everybody be happy. Sarve Santu Niramaya. Everyone be without any disease. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Let everybody see good tidings. Ma Kaschit Dukkhabhag Bhavet. Let sorrow not reach any of us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is the usual closing prayer with which we should close any session. So I use these prayers. Thank you all for listening patiently with this, and we'll be in touch and continue this discussion.